Hey everybody, welcome to the show. This is Darin Olien, and this is the Super Life Podcast. Thanks for being here. Stoked you're here. I'm going to dive into one of my favorite topics, the power of plants, the adaptogens. Adaptogenic stress relief with adaptogens. Is it science or is it pseudoscience? You know, we have companies all the time telling us, eat these mushrooms, eat this herb, all of those things in a gummy, in a pill, in a tincture, in a coffee. And they're saying all these things. But is it true? We're going to dive in. I want to say many of you may know, or maybe you don't know. For about 15 years, I spent time superfood hunting. That's right. It was a term that was given to me by a Business Week article, and it kind of stuck. But what I really was doing is I was traveling the world exploring the most potent herbs, botanicals, adaptogens, superfoods, and alike all over the place. From mountaintops, Schisandra and the Chinese mountains and the Tibetan sovereign mountains, to Ashwagandha in India, to maca in Peru. I was all over the place for a long time. Southeast Asia, you name it. And I'd run into these powerful plants, these adaptogenic herbs that really have a historic use, some dating back 10,000 plus years. Ancient civilizations would use to combat stress, increase endurance, energy, and promote longevity. They didn't have drugs. These were their medicines. In today's world, these adaptogens I will get into truly are powerful. Are they stress-relieving agents? Are they, or can they do their job of mitigating stress and improving energy and longevity outcome and performance? We're going to dive in. We're going to break down the real science. We're going to discuss doses a little bit that are used in clinical trials. We're going to highlight shocking research that I found that I'm going to share with you. So what is the scientific evidence of adaptogens as it is to reducing the level of stress? Because we know in this modern day world we have so many conveniences, but why are we so stressed out? Well, obviously that's a podcast on its own. We're disconnected from the rhythms of the ancestral life. We're inside, we're not outside, we have shoes on, we're not in the sun. There's a lot of things that we're not doing that our ancestors did, but we all, being human, stress is a part of life because it moves us forward. I don't know about you, I've gone through some stressful things in my life, and they always led me to another mountaintop, another view, another possibility. Because I always feel that life is not happening to us. We're not a victim. Life is always happening for us. Our little minds sometimes can't grok the events at the time. Maybe someone wronged you, which caused a lot of stress. It's hard to unpack it in those moments. But upon retrospect, upon distance and time and reflection, we can find opportunity in stressful events. That said, why not use some incredible herbs to help us along the way? A 2023 review of adaptogens confirmed the effectiveness of adaptogens in managing conditions like chronic stress, which is huge, including anxiety, depression, fatigue, and chronic disorders. This also isn't, if you have other means and methods, keep doing those. If you need to contact a professional and talk to someone, do all of those things. But this is just showing powerful assist in our plant kingdom to help us. The homologous connection, meaning plants and their compounds have with us as mammals, as humans. It's incredible. This study in 2023 highlighted commonly used adaptogens like Rhodiola rosea, which is one of my favorites, ginseng, eleuthero, and ashwagandha, all having significant therapeutic potential. There's not a lot of human trials, and there's great studies, and we always need more, especially instead of taking all of our money and shoving it towards all of these chemicals and these things in our modern healthcare system. Let's turn it towards the ancients, the ones that have been around for thousands of years. Human trials show adaptogens can reduce stress. A randomized, placebo-controlled trial found that adaptogenic supplements significantly improved stress resilience in 215 elite athletes. The markers such as cortisol levels lowered, fatigue, severity, cognitive function showed measurable improvements. Study in 2017, it's in the show notes. The mechanism behind adaptogens are impressive, especially as their effect on stress. Adaptogens regulate stress response pathways, particularly the HPA axis, the hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis, which is controlling the cortisol levels and the stress markers like nitric oxide in the body. This means that they help maintain balance, homeostasis, and protect against both acute and chronic stress. This was a study in 2012. Also, the effectiveness on mental and behavioral disorders was powerful because a systematic review of adaptogens found that Rhodiola rosea and Schisandra was well documented as its effect on stress-related disorders, particularly by modulating the neuroendocrine function. Then when you shift over to a study in 2017, reviewed the effects of ashwagandha, it's from India, rhodiola, and bacopa on stress levels, specifically around cortisol levels and even fatigue. The study concluded that these are significantly reduced stress-related fatigue and improved cognitive functioning. So, is there a potential industry bias in adaptogenic research? Some studies show, and they point out, that while adaptogens have shown promise in treating stress and age-related diseases, there is still a limited, large-scale, human-controlled clinical data on the subject. So we need more and more rigorous studies because there's so much potential and we're seeing so many powerful results. If we put more studies behind it, we will be blown away, I have no doubt. Because the variability in adaptogen potency, this is due to genetic and environmental factors. So there's many factors, not only the person's genetics, but also the genetics, the potency of the adaptogens as well. How are they grown? How are they processed? Are you killing off the powerful compounds in the processing? Man, I would see this all the time. Companies would say, eat this ashwagandha, eat this chaga mushroom or reishi or whatever. And then the process, because I was in the places, in the jungle, in the manufacturing facilities, and the way they were doing it was killing off the powerful compounds. So we need more regulation within the supplemental industry as well. And that's a huge topic. Additionally, some adaptogen formulas do have standardized, controlled extracts, etc. But the other ones, just using the words, that has concern. Some of the shocking findings. Adaptogens can mimic stress in the body to build resilience. Yes. Again, how stress is used. So adaptogens act most of them act as a mild stress mimic on a small level, triggering the body's adaptive stress response in these small doses, similar to how we're supposed to use homeopathics or things like that to stimulate the immune system's response to a said bacteria or virus. Also, cortisol regulation is the key. So studies show adaptogens normalize elevated cortisol levels, preventing burnout and cognitive decline. That was a great study in 2017. So again, adaptogens help to normalize when your cortisol levels get very high. Powerful studies on performance. Elite athletes showed significant gains. Athletes taking adaptogens had a measurable improvement in reaction time, stress tolerance, and performance, suggesting real physiological benefits. So here's some final thoughts. Yes, I can't give you prescribed amounts of adaptogens because I can't give you that. I don't know your body. I don't know where you're at. But look for companies that are transparent in their studies and their protocols and their flow from how it's grown, where it's grown, how it's manufactured, extracted, and put in a way that can be consumed to have you have those benefits. Now, keep in mind, adaptogens, by their very nature, cause no harm. It's one of the tenets of an adaptogen. So, if the adaptogen has a small amount or high amount, technically, there's no amount of that will cause you harm. It's just a matter of, do you have enough to promote benefit in your body? Science-backed benefits do exist. Studies do show that adaptogens modulate stress response systems in the body, reducing fatigue, improving mental performance. Of course, more human trials are needed. Many studies rely on animal models or small-scale trials. The lack of large-scale, independent clinical trials leaves some uncertainty, but there's so much there to show, yes, they are doing some very, very powerful good effects in the body. So is there potential industry bias? While there is strong evidence for adaptogens, commercial interests and sales do start to influence the research, the direction, and the potency of those said adaptogens. It would be fascinating, however, to discuss how each of these industry-funded of these supplements could be more transparent and less overhyped. That would be amazing. So I do want to give you some standard of what the research said is some good science-backed evidence of how much you could take. And I'll just lay out a few. Ashwagandha, one of my favorites out of India. A review of adaptogenic activity of ashwagandha showed that there was a high appraisal of studies that showed around 300 to 600 milligrams per day. So the key findings was that it did show reduced cortisol levels with that amount, enhanced stress resilience, and improved cognitive function. Again, I'm not a medical doctor. This is just for information purposes. Another great friend adaptogen of mine is Rhodiola rosea. The effects on adaptogens on physical and physiological symptoms of stress showed with Rhodiola rosea around 200 to 600 milligrams. The study showed it improved mental clarity, reduced fatigue, stabilized stress-induced hormonal changes. That was a study done in 2017. Rhodiola rosea has demonstrated significant anti-fatigue, anti-stress, and improved cognitive function and resiliency in individuals that were exposed to chronic stress. powerful. Again, one of my other favorites that I saw on the high mountaintops at about 17,000 feet, gasping for oxygen, running around with a Tibetan looking for Rhodiola was one of my greatest adventures of my lifetime. Snow, mountaintops, finding Rhodiola rosea only growing in these areas, and those stress compounds helped the body, and I can't tell you how powerful that is to run around with a Tibetan elder and learning about where they are, why they're powerful, and seeing this now in the research, validating that it's not just a throwaway, that these things really do have medicinal powers in them. Another great one that I ran around in China, in the forests, where the pandas would run and roam, was the Schisandra berry. This was a great study, adaptogens in mental and behavioral disorders. The doses of Schisandra on a daily basis range from 500 to 1,500 milligrams a day. The key findings in this study was supporting the adrenal function, improved focus, and neuroprotective effects. Schisandra, in a quote from the study, Schisandra has adaptogenic effects, enhanced cognitive performance, improved stress resilience, and protect the nervous system from oxidative stress. If that's not powerful and important today, I don't know what is. Okay, another one that I had direct exposure to way back in like 2004. One of my first trips to Peru, 2003, 2004, was at 14,000 feet, where I first saw and ate raw maca. This adaptogen was in this study was shown to improve central nervous system functioning. The doses were 1,500 milligrams to 3,000 milligrams. That's 1.5 grams to 3 grams per day. The key findings of this was energy, hormonal balance, and mood stability. Again, these ancient Peruvians would take this tuber, it's the only thing growing virtually, and have been using it for thousands of years. So this adaptogenic quality and activity, in particular to maca, was around physical stamina and resiliency to physiological stressors. So as someone that has spent a couple decades, close to a couple decades, sourcing adaptogens globally, I say firsthand, I've been consuming these for better part of 3 decades, learning directly from the indigenous communities and the knowledge base of the cultural areas. I have to say these things are cousins and friends that I like to consume every day because of this relationship between their compounds that they have stressed to create in their environment and allowed us, while consuming them, get the benefit of those stressors, helping us deal with the stressors of our life. This is powerful. So even though more studies get me excited, I am already convinced. The modern science is catching up to this ancient wisdom. So don't let marketing distort the truth. Let science do it. And let's benefit from the strong potential benefits of these adaptogens. And the more we consume over time, they're not a caffeine, they're not a stimulant. So these things tend to build resiliency and modulation along the way. So keep that in mind. You're not going to consume an adaptogen like a ashwagandha or a astragalus or Schisandra or a reishi or a chaga or a tulsi. You're not, or rhodiola. You're not going to get those just by taking it once. It does have acute benefit, but you're not going to feel it necessarily. These things are built over time. The week, the 2 weeks, the 3 weeks, the month, the 3 months. These are herbs that you don't really have to cycle. You can bring these in as a natural, normal part of your life. Of course, increase more when you're going through stress or you need to recover or rest. These things are your allies. Okay? All right, from a superfood hunter to you, I love these adaptogens and I hope you do too. Have your super life and consume your power plants. Peace.